Well,
Yeah,
let's jump
agreed.
into it. So, you shared about some of the common financial mistakes, but what are some of the common financial mistakes you see entrepreneurs make, and how can they avoid them?
Yeah, I love this question because there's probably 5 to 7 mistakes that I see over and over when entrepreneurs come to me, right? And the goal is that they want to be on that winning side of the failed business statistic, right? Like 66% fail in the first 5 years. And I actually think that number would be higher if they didn't have access to credit cards. But I would say, looking at, maybe my top five, I would say one, most entrepreneurs leap with passion and purpose. They have no lack of passion or purpose, but they don't necessarily have a plan. They expect immediate results, right? They leave their job, they leap out, and they think that they're going to make money by like next Tuesday, right? They're going to be profitable. But the truth is that you don't make money immediately. You have to have a roadmap, and you also have to have a financial runway. And the truth is that that generally most times takes anywhere from 18 months to 2 years, but they're planning it to be 6 months, or they're planning it to be 3 months, that they're going to come out and be profitable. And so that is one of the biggest mistakes that I see, is that they don't really attune with the fact that they're going to need a longer financial runway. I mean, even for me, you guys, like, I took a 7-figure exit when I left my insurance agency, and then took a year off, and then said, okay, what am I going to do now that I've grown up? And even coming into this business, like, it took me 3 to 5 years of figuring. The first 3 years was like, what do I want to do? How do I want to do it? Who do I want to do it with? And then I've had 3 iterations of that over the last 8 years in this consulting practice and where it has led me. And so even a seasoned entrepreneur with 35 years of experience and success still goes through that same iteration with a new business. So I would say the first thing is not leap out with your passion and your purpose, but make sure that you have a plan. The other piece that I see that really gets people into trouble is not knowing what their lifestyle really costs. They truly don't have a clear view of what's required to keep the house afloat and their share of that number. Now, if you're single, it's the whole number, right? You're responsible for the whole thing. But if you are in a relationship, it is a really important piece to go under the hood of the business, go under the hood of the lifestyle and say, okay, what is it going to take? If it's going to take 18 months to 2 years, what part of the lifestyle am I responsible for? And that's really the flow chapter of the Path to Profits, goes into the formula of how do you do that? Really getting people to not just look at the bills with due dates, the what I call yellow pad budgeting, where you put down your rent or your mortgage, your car insurance, your Verizon. But what about the fact that I wear contacts, you wear glasses, kids might have camp this summer, we have auto repairs. So instead of looking at half of the formula, most times when I go under the hood with a business owner and I say, okay, what's your overhead? They're giving me 30%. They're not giving me the other 70%, which is their spending, their groceries, their eating out, their vacations, all the things. And I think that the biggest piece is really understanding what the lifestyle number is, because we've got to make sure that you're getting the business to create that paycheck for you, right? We don't want you creating a job per se, but we've got to make sure that the business is profitable enough, or that you have the long enough runway and you're working with a real number. Because most people might start to insulate by taking, 12 months and jumping out when they have 12 months, but they're not even looking at the real number. And then that number only lasts them 6 months, and they end up going to credit cards or leveraging credit, and then ending up in trouble when they get to the 2 or 3 year mark. The other thing that I would say is not even having a personal emergency fund or cash reserves for the business itself, right? It's one thing to need the cash reserves to get yourself to the point that the business is profitable and making money, but then not even having a personal emergency fund, and then having to revert to credit cards as well. Taxes is a big one, right? People will lay out the business structure and not plan for taxes. And that definitely gets people in trouble. I've worked with a lot of people that get in trouble not only with the IRS and the state, but sales tax, right? They're in a business where they have to collect sales tax, contractors, service providers, retail. And now all of a sudden there's a crunch, and the sales tax, which is not their money and should be reported or, sent in either monthly or quarterly, depending on the state, all of a sudden they've been using it to cushion the pad of the business, and they get themselves into trouble. And now they owe sales tax, and they come in and take the money when you're not paying, right? So taxes is a big one. Um, Using their personal credit and not establishing business credit is a big one. Even long-term established businesses tend to get into the pattern of using their personal credit to grow the business and never take the first moves to actually start establishing business credit. And then the other thing, the last thing that I see over and over is they're not focused on revenue generation activities. Squirrel, squirrel, squirrel. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. We're doing all the things that all the people out there in the gurus say to do. And what they aren't doing is the consistent revenue generation that actually would bring in income and create profitability in their business.
Mm. I really like all of those points you've made because I can relate them as being a newer agent. When I was a new agent, I was going and I was transitioning from being Holly's assistant to an agent. I didn't take a look at my expenses and what I needed on a monthly basis. Luckily, I was also getting married and my husband is the breadwinner, and so I had him as a cushion, but
Mhm.
having that mindset now going into our business, I always ask my new agents, what is your overhead on a monthly basis? And like, that's what we're going to aim for because I don't want to overwhelm you and you don't get enough money in. And then you quit the next month because you're not making enough. I want to set realistic expectations
Mhm.
in the forefront. And I think that goes for any business that, I mean, there's going to be a drop in income because you're used to whatever income stream you're going from and then starting a new project